Hello, welcome back to Ultrascape. This is day 5 of my Accursed Race daily coverage. So let's have a little look at the tracker and see what's been going on. And when we left it yesterday, you may remember the race had been hit by bad weather in the mountains, and Justyna Slivejka had basically extended out a massive lead, and that has continued. Doesn't look like the gap's grown too much between him and Chris Dijkmans. However, it's just not going to be closable in between now and the finish unless there's an absolute disaster for Justynas. So as you can see, he's almost done now. So this I started around this position on my last day last year and finished about 8 p.m. So I would have thought that Justynas would be done by midnight tonight, local time. You can see there's quite a lot of road. Let's go to Ride with GPS just to show a slightly more detailed picture of where he's going. So he's down here, descending off the final kind of descent there, and he'll be going through the town of Lac. So if we zoom in a bit, Lac should be down here somewhere. There it is. Oh, he's in Lac now, so he's probably having a resupply. So yeah, the town of Lac, the last kind of big town before the finish, but there's lots of smaller towns, plenty of resupply on this river valley. It's a long ride through here, kind of undulating. You can see, I mean, it's much flatter than the rest of the route. You can kind of see, let me just highlight from where it is now to the finish. You can see that it's, it's 100 miles basically. Not a massive amount of elevation in the grand scheme of things. You may notice the 16% maximum grade. That is a hiker bike. So if you saw my race preview, if you haven't seen it, I've put some video in from last year. You can check it out. So basically, it's nice and easy through most of the day. There's a bit of gravel, fairly remote through this section. Not much in the way of water. There wasn't when I was there anyway, but it looks like there's been quite a lot of rain over the last few days, as we've seen. So yeah, it looks like a few resupplies here for Justynas, and then he should be done by midnight, I would have thought. Certainly after dark. There is this hiker bike just through this section here. You can see on the elevation profile down the bottom right corner here, quite a steep section down the bottom here. So it's a big drop down into a valley and then back up again. But then essentially when you're at the top there, it's all downhill to the finish. So yeah, it looks like Justynas pretty much has this in the bag. 100 miles to go for him. So yeah, really solid ride for him so far. Further down the field, as we've already said, Chris Dijkmans, he is on this quite remote section here. It's really beautiful up there. One of the most beautiful places on the route. Again, check out the preview video. I'll put the link up in the top corner if you didn't see that. And you can just see some of the terrain, but it's kind of like a bit of a high plateau, quite remote. A lot of Albania, you feel quite, it's still quite remote. It's not massively developed. Obviously, if you look at the general geography, you can see it's kind of got the profile here, and it's quite flat along the coast, and then these mountains are just a bit more wild. So yeah, you really get that feeling of adventure in this race. So Chris Dijkmans, he's on one of the last sort of off-road sections. He's probably got about 200 miles to go. Maybe he'll ride through the night. If not, I suspect it'll be tomorrow morning. He's got a solid gap over Pierre. So Pierre looks like he's dropped off a little bit. It's going to be quite hard to close that gap, I would have thought, as long as they just keep on riding. And then Christian and Andy further back. Andy looks like he's drifted back a little bit. But yeah, they're kind of making their way in towards Peshkopi. So this is a really hard section, as we talked about yesterday. So it has been known to break people. That was the section that sent me over the edge last year a little bit. Maybe they'll regroup in Peshkopi. That remains to be seen. But they're looking at probably a couple of days ride from Peshkopi to the finish still. So probably 2.5 days for those guys. And then there's some big gaps. I think the weather basically just hold a lot of people up for a long time. So the gaps back are just massive. A lot of people aren't even in Kosovo yet. So I guess this is the mid-pack coming through CP1. It's going to be a really big spread. It's going to be tricky for some people to meet that finish deadline, I suspect. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, nonetheless, very challenging conditions. So, great for everyone who's out there. There's been a few more scratches. Let's go to the leaderboard just to see those. I did notice that the only two women in the race, Annie and Hannah, unfortunately they scratched yesterday. Their dot didn't really move from it sort of went grey in the town. I'm not on the wrong map here. It went grey in this town off route a couple of days in, and they've not moved since. So hopefully everything's all right with those guys. But it'd be shame that there won't be any female finishers this year. And we've got a few more scratches. I do suspect there might be a couple more if the weather persists and is bad for the rest of the race. But that remains to be seen. So we shall see how that pans out. Right, let's just take a look at some of the stories on Instagram coming from the race, the riders and the race accounts. So this is Andy Dodd. So he's in that battle for 4th place at the moment, as you know. And yeah, this is what it was like up high. So that's a good, almost a foot of snow there, isn't it? Fresh tracks, pushing through. It's one of those things, if there's a couple of you together, it's harder to be the first person because you've got to break the trail, you've got to find where you're going. But yeah, tough conditions for all the riders. And yeah, he needed skis, that's for sure. So yeah, so that's where he was. So yeah, pretty tough riding. But then, you know, after the snow, it's always beautiful. And look at that, what a view to wake up to in the morning. I'm also going to talk about some updates from Justinus. Now, just after I posted the video yesterday, this update popped up. So this was him in the CP2 hotel. So he arrived at 7 in the morning. So he obviously rode through the night. He kind of looks like he's ridden through the night as well. So he was holding a 90k lead, and then we know he had that sleep as well. But yeah, I've not heard from him. He was going to send me a couple of updates, and I wondered what had been going on. But he's got a broken phone, so he doesn't know where his competitors are. So he's just got his head down riding, and he's basically not been sleeping because he didn't want to oversleep. So yeah, it's quite funny, the story from Justinus. His phone was actually broken when we rode together a month ago, and he was talking about getting it fixed then. So I just assumed that he's not actually got it fixed yet. Basically, the screen wouldn't work, so he couldn't see anything on his phone. That was a month ago, and he tapped it a few times and it started working again. But I think probably that he's probably pushed his luck with that one now. So yeah, 10 hours ahead of Alex's winning time from last year at that time. So he's going to be a good 12 hours ahead. We're going to be looking at 5.5 days for the finish time, maybe even less. But yeah, that's a man who's ridden through some high mountains in cold, wet conditions and is very tired. But yeah, Justinus always smiling though, and yeah, the classic fashion. And also just, I did mention his bike. There's some sneaky shots there. I think it's a new bike from Trek. So yeah, like a full suspension gravel bike type thing. They're gravel wheels in there. They're the Hunt Limitless wheels. But yeah, it looks like 20 or 30 mil travel front and rear. So yeah, can't see any detailed shots, but yeah, that if you're into your bike tech, that is something to pay attention to. Also, we have a little update from today. So through the mines section. So if we look at the map, this would have been one of these big climbs here. So I think it's probably this climb. Yeah, it's that climb. So that's just like a really long, it reminds me of Tour Divide, really long climb through an open cast mine. And interestingly here, the photographers, I think I mentioned it before, they're basically trying to keep out of the race so the riders don't notice them. So that's Matt Grayson hiding in this camo net. It's much improved from last year because I kept spotting them last year. That's my game, to keep myself occupied, was to try and spot the photographers. Looks like he's got a camera trap set up and he's caught himself and Justinus again. Last year I was in shorts and t-shirt, really warm on this climb, but it looks like it's full winter gear. Looks wet. I can imagine it's quite draggy under the wheels, and yeah, it's a bit of a weird place, kind of just a long lost valley that's just been taken over by mining. So yeah, so that's an update on Justinus, and let's just finish with a little run through the stories up here.
I think Marky and I were going up the hill and this truck driver stopped and said, there's snow up there, and yeah. We were like, okay, cool. What are we going to do? So carrying on, and it was blowing a hoolie up there, headwind, snow. It was pretty cold. Unfortunately, we descended into like a place where there was a small little cabin, guy doing coffee and a fire, which is cool. And then, I mean, it's lovely. It's been really pretty. I mean, the top of that bit just now is just absolutely stunning, especially the snow. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little excerpt from the podcast. So that was when they all realised that they were going to get smashed by snow, and this was quite a nice before and after. So you can see, it's been a bit of a dump and a bit of a change. So let's hope the riders were prepared for that. But yeah, this must have been before the snow. We're a bit behind on this. But the one thing, these mountains are really quite difficult to get to. It's hard to get to when it's dry. So I suspect that we won't see many wintry photos from the official race organisation, just because it is quite hard to get there. And yeah, it just looks cold, doesn't it? Cold and damp. But that's the Balkans, the mountains are quite unpredictable. It can change. It's going to be destroying equipment. I wonder if brake pads may be an issue. I wonder if anyone's going to run out of brake pads and not have enough spares. That's Chris Dykman's arriving at CP2. We saw that video of him in the supermarket yesterday, looking very cold. It doesn't look much warmer now, to be honest. And oh, look at that, the classic, wet hands. So he would have been very grateful to be in that hotel and getting warm again. So yeah, that's what I've got for today. Relatively short update. Tomorrow I suspect we shall have a winner. So yeah, I look forward to bringing you the news of that. Hopefully Justinus might be able to fix his phone. Hopefully I might get a message from him. We'll see. But thanks for watching as always, and catch you in the next one.